Welcome to Tangential Soup, a weekly podcast discussing life in Australia, technology, food, finance, and the like. Hosted by myself, David Caddy, Melburnian, independent developer and tea enthusiast, as well as my good childhood friend, Alexander Carr, Sydney Sider, karate practitioner, and lover of adventure. So, there's a bit of a follow-up to you suggesting that Google Stadia could be potentially a boon for virtual reality. I linked you a little snippet of a video done by Lon Seidman, a tech YouTuber that I watch sometimes, and he was just sort of talking about his experience with similar technology like a year or so ago, a bit of a tech demo, and he was saying that it was good but still not good enough because, like what I was saying last time, that for virtual reality stuff you really need to be spot on in terms of latency or else you start to feel a little bit sick.
Yes. And that makes perfect sense. He did seem to suggest that maybe it had something to do with the headset as well, though. I don't know if that is...
Well, that's true. Like, it's not a one-to-one comparison. If anyone can do it, again, I reckon Google has a good shot at it. But I'd say that'll be the second thing once they've sort of nailed down just your standard video games.
Yes, yeah. And I would imagine there's probably a fair bit of development that will go into it that would hinder anything happening that quickly as well. But something to look forward to in the future, certainly.
Pen Island, a company that you've recently come across.
This was I'm not a pioneer in any way, David. I don't usually find anything new and exciting when it comes to the internet. But Pen Island, which if you see the URL is already hilarious, was recently brought to my attention. I've been told, I haven't ordered anything from them, but I've been told that they are a legitimate pen store. I think they make custom-made pens.
Were you looking for pens, or did you just find this through other means?
I found it through other means. It was Samantha is a pen enthusiast and was more so in her younger days, I think, and she came across Pen Island and apparently bought something from them. But just looking at their website based on the URL is hilarious because right on the home page they have several phrases just all automatically hilarious. So one is, we specialise in wood. And then they say, your pen is our business. Obviously putting pen and is or pen and island next to each other is just a recipe for disaster. But
surely it must have been deliberate to call it Penis Land.
I think so, because they have on the front page as well that they have virgin timber. I'm sure this is all perfectly normal stuff for a pen website. But I don't know.
I'm sure they're playing it up a bit.
Well, maybe they do.
Like, it has to be a joke. They can't be just, innocently have done this, surely.
And then if you go to their wood page, they've got hand-rubbed lacquers. And a large assortment of exotic virgin woods. So I just wanted to share that with you. Obviously, it's not really newsworthy, but to me, that really made my day. And I thought that maybe somebody else out there might laugh at it as well, if they have a very immature sense of humour.
We'll have a link in the show notes. Please feel free to peruse at one's leisure.
Yeah, maybe we'll send them some extra business. I don't know. Maybe they're a fantastic pen store. I probably should have found out before I started touting it on our show. But
well, at least you've heard that they're legit. Like, you will get something from them. You won't get completely.
You will get something.
Nothing else.
And I would imagine it would be pretty hard to go wrong with a custom-made pen. If you're into that type of thing, obviously it probably wouldn't be a cheap endeavour, but it might be worthwhile if you'd like to have something that will last a while.
Maybe we need some tangential soup pens.
Maybe we could. Maybe they'll sponsor us. So, on a slightly more serious note, you brought to my attention the fact that Garfield phones have been washing up on an island in France recently. No, not recently, really, for the last 20 or something years.
35 years, in fact.
35 years, there you go. But it was recently discovered where these Garfield phones have been coming from. Now, I'm sure you can guess if phones are constantly washing up on an island, there's a crate somewhere of them that's maybe stuck on a bit of rock. Which was, in fact, the case. It was stuck in a cave. The reason I say it's more serious is, like, if you look at these phones that are 35 years old and have been sitting in the water and everything like that, they're in quite good condition. Which I know a lot is said about the half-life of hard plastics, but I think it really does bring it into perspective, doesn't it?
Oh, well, that's true too. I hadn't thought about so much that, but yes, you're right. They've aged pretty damn well. I mean, even the orangey colour is still, it's not really faded at all.
Yes, yeah. The article itself, which has been published onto The Verge under the title "Why Garfield Phones Keep Washing Up on This French Beach" by Dammy Lee, published on the 30th of March, does say that the phone is quite good looking, but if you actually look at a picture of it, it's not.
No. Maybe good looking for a cat-shaped phone? A cartoon cat-shaped phone? I don't know.
Well...
But as a phone, I think. As an object, I wouldn't have thought it has too much appeal, other than Garfield being a notable character.
I actually didn't realise that Garfield was so prominent for such a long period of time.
It's been around a while.
Because I remember reading the comics when I was a kid, but that would have been the 90s. And he used to publish them in those kind of books that you could buy at all the best retailers like Kmart and Target.
Well, the 90s is a fair while ago now, Alex.
I know it is, yeah. But even before then, Garfield was obviously very popular.
Yes.
So the headset and the receiver are all kind of one molded piece, and you pull the receiver up. And when you do, the eyes actually open.
Oh, yeah.
Which I suppose would have been cutting edge back in the day. I just wonder about... Because apparently there are lots of missing shipping containers sitting in the sea right now. And I think a lot of them have sunk, because obviously once they start to get water in them. But they do have a certain waterproofness to them, don't they? Because if they are dropped when loading into the boats, they want to have some chance of recovering them. So perhaps there are other Garfield phones floating around in the sea that we don't know about.
Quite possibly. All sorts of other things.
Yeah, probably more valuable things than Garfield phones.
I do find it funny they say a 35-year-old mystery is solved. And like you say, it really had to be just this one thing. It's just they happened to find the container.
And it's a mystery, but I don't think anyone actually put any effort into solving it.
No.
Because my understanding is a kind of action group around cleaning up litter just decided to take a stance on these Garfield phones, and then immediately someone came forward and said, I think I know where they're coming from. So, is it really a mystery if no one tries to solve it?
It's like that age-old question if a tree falls in the woods.
Yes, exactly. So anyway.
It's a quirky little piece.
Exactly. But you can actually buy these Garfield phones still. They do exist.
Are they still being produced, or are they like second-hand ones?
So there's one available on eBay for a cost of $54.88 US.
Oh, bargain.
Yeah. Obviously, if we were to buy it and ship it to Australia, it would cost another $47.91 for shipping.
Why is shipping from the US so expensive now? I feel like it used to be cheaper, and you can get stuff out of like the UK much cheaper.
Does it have to do with the shipping services they use?
I mean, maybe.
I would imagine that might be the problem.
I haven't really done any research into it. I've just noticed fairly recently that it seems far more expensive to get stuff from the States than it used to be.
Yeah, I try not to buy overseas unless it actually has free shipping, and not a lot of places from the US actually do.
No.
I mean, you would assume they're just passing on costs. You don't really want to try and gouge people on shipping, or else you're not going to make as many sales as other people's will.
No.
So there must be some reason, but I have no idea why. But anyway, I think my advice certainly is don't buy the phone.
Well, no one has landlines anyway.
Well, that's true. But I mean, for these pieces, they're just fashion pieces, right? Fits into that whole...
I guess that's true.
Vintage.
Retro.
Yeah. So on to a more, I guess, powerful area.
Mm.
You sent me a link with information on the world's first thermal battery. Now, I believe this would be the world's first thermal battery that will be available to the public. So the title is probably slightly misleading. This can't be the first use of the technology, can it?
I don't think so. You have to refresh my memory. It's been a while since I looked at this.
Well, the article doesn't actually mention it, but basically what it says is, well, I mean, essentially what it says is a company from South Australia called CCT Energy Storage will unveil the world's first working thermal battery on March 27, so it's already been unveiled. Known as TED, Thermal Energy Device, the battery basically accepts any form of electrical input to convert and store energy as latent heat. Now, I don't really understand what that means, to be honest, and I'm not sure if it's something that the layperson even cares about inside their battery, but it seems like it's not nearly the same as the technology we're using at the moment.
No, it's a very different type of battery. It's interesting, and it's interesting again that it's in South Australia. They're doing a lot on the sort of more cutting edge technologies around power.
They seem to be, don't they? Yeah.
Mm. Now, to be honest, I don't super understand this either. It seems interesting. Who knows what sort of value it will have?
Well, they've told us that 10 units are to be supplied to commercial customers this year, and they expect to be supplying about 200 by 2020.
Still pretty low volume, but interesting.
Well, it's very low volume. The kind of scale that they're talking about for these thermal batteries, just to give our listeners an idea, they'll be used to power, I guess, larger things. They'll be used to power businesses, telecommunication networks, and transport systems. So they're not like a AA battery.
No.
Uh,
This is more on the scale of like Elon Musk's big battery.
Yes.
Although I think that's far bigger than these ones. But so I guess it's sort of somewhere in between, sort of for large industrial purposes, but still a specific application, not like the whole plant or something.
Yes, that seems to be what it is. Yes. And of course, I think everyone's always looking for the next energy source. I would imagine, though, if this were actually the next great energy source, there would probably be a bit more hype around it. Just because it doesn't seem to store energy particularly efficiently. It just...
What's the advantage of this then? Is it lower cost or something?
I really don't know, to be honest. It's the only thing I can think that seems to set it apart is it accepts any form of electrical input and stores it as latent heat. Well, yeah, obviously that doesn't really tell you anything, does it?
No.
It says it's versatile, affordable, and long-lasting. So...
it could be, probably because it's heat, it probably has an unlimited cycle count. Because as you know, lithium-ion batteries degrade over time. I'm guessing this probably doesn't.
Right, okay. Well, that would be interesting, actually.
Like, as long as it's maintained, but yeah.
Okay. Well, there you go. I guess then to compete with lithium-ion, it's just got to come somewhere in a middle pricing sweet point, I guess. I think in my understanding of power, is one of the best kind of renewable power sources we have at the moment is nuclear power, but it will never be used because of the huge stigma it has around it.
Yes, I'm sort of torn on nuclear. Like, it's great in theory, but people have shown over time that they can't necessarily be trusted to use it without it blowing up.
Well, yes, that's true.
And even though there's more newer safety aspects and systems that would probably radically increase the safety, when something goes wrong, it is kind of catastrophic. And like the cleanup is like ongoing forever. Like they're still cleaning up Fukushima.
Yes, it's all very sad. So I suppose we won't be seeing nuclear batteries anytime soon.
So I'm sort of pro, but then I'm sort of not. I feel like, though, that we can still get to 100% renewable without that. So we don't really need to. But at the same time, that would be a huge step forward, I guess, sort of on the cost scale. It's probably more efficient. But really, if just governments around the world started to throw some real resources at it, using a combination of wind, solar and hydro, we could get there, I think.
Yeah, okay.
Don't agree?
Um,
No, China's whacking up nuclear everywhere.
well, yes, yeah, they are. I mean, it's not that I don't agree necessarily, because in my mind, like, yes, I completely agree with your kind of issues around nuclear power. Obviously, there are huge risks associated with it that you just don't get with anything else. But at the same time, like, I think that it is fairly widely agreed. Well, not agreed, but it's fairly widely stated by, I think, a lot of the scientific community that we are at somewhat of a we're in somewhat of a race against time, really, when it comes to these things. And like when it comes to kind of getting, I guess, climate change under control. So I think the more we can do to speed it up, the better. I don't think that we're going to reach renewable targets. I don't think Australia is going to reach its renewable targets, which I think was 50% renewable by 2030 or something like that.
I know, and I'm with you, but I feel like that's more political inaction than available technology.
Oh, definitely it is, yeah. But I mean, like when you kind of get to that point, I think that, you know, like one nuclear power plant can make a lot of difference.
Oh, it can.
And can potentially replace many coal-fired plants. And then once you kind of go down that road, then, you know, I think it would just be a huge help that we don't currently have at the moment.
Yeah, that's true.
So, look, I mean, either we die by all the nuclear power plants blowing up, or we trigger the next ice age and then wipe ourselves out.
Well, it's a happy thought.
I try.
Are they the only options?
Well, I mean, Elon's working on the Mars option, right? So no,
true.
This is the third one.
Just move to a different planet.
Yeah, right, I know. Do you know what the funny... I always think it's so hilarious when people are talking about moving to Mars because we've ruined Earth. Like, we haven't ruined Earth yet. I suppose
it's a write-off. Let it go.
The first and biggest point I can say. Second of all, look at how habitable Earth is now compared to the habitability of Mars at the moment. I mean, why would you, like... What's the logic behind something like that?
Come on, put up a bit of carpeting, a couple of domes, liquid paint. Oh, it should be great.
Yeah.
Be beautiful.
Deal with the huge amounts of radiation.
Yeah, well, you know, a bit of shielding here and there, a little bit of climate control. Bob's your uncle.
I mean, all the effort that you put into that, you might as well just save the current Earth.
Yeah, but you got to get so many people to agree on things. At least up there, you can do what you want. It's like the Wild West.
Well, yes. I mean, that's the whole appeal of it, right? You kind of you don't have to worry about warring governments and everything. Presumably, the Mars government would be a united one. But, I mean, potentially that could be achieved on Earth as well with little cooperation.
Thanks again for joining me, Alex.
Not a problem, David. Pleasure as always.
You can follow and get in touch with us on Twitter at Tangential Soup, and you can find this week's show notes for more information about today's topics at tsp.fm/208. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider sharing it with anyone you think might also, and we'll talk to you again next week. Bye.
Ciao. That's all I've kind of got to talk about. Did you have anything else?
Not really. We kind of raced through all those really quickly.
We can do another topic. I mean, we can grab something else off the old topics. Did you read any of my? Actually, no. We can do the. I almost put on the Emirates first class drone thingy.
That was just because it looked kind of cool, but obviously that's a April Fool's joke.
Oh. Well. Oh, that's a sad story. I genuinely thought that it was a real thing.
I did too for like 2 seconds, because one of my old colleagues from Bosch sent it to me, and I don't think he realised straight up that it was either. because you never really remember in the morning of April 1st.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
But all the tech companies, well, many of them jump on board and do something. And then I was almost sending back to him, oh man, that looks awesome. And then I'm like, hang on.
Okay, well, look, I fell for that. I thought there's no way that's an affordable alternative.
No.
Do we even have drone technology like that?
Nope.
Obviously we don't. Okay, well, there we go. That's my dream shattered.
It did look cool. So for people, if I keep this in, it was just a post on the Instagram page that's Emirates of this sort of like a 4-person cockpit thing, sort of a drone, like a large drone for like a quadcopter. It looks awesome. Like the render, they did a good job on it.
They did.
And then they said it was coming like this time next year, but no.
Have you been to Dubai Airport before? I don't.
No, I haven't been that far up.
Yeah. So it is a very nice airport. And that's why I wasn't surprised, because it has a lot of, well, obviously being Dubai, it has a lot of very fancy things.
Yes.
So
if it was going to happen anywhere, it probably would happen there first.
Yes. Yeah. There or Singapore.
Yeah,
maybe,
I heard that's quite impressive
also.
too.
Yes. All right. Well, that was a bit disappointing, actually. I thought we'd reach that point in the future.